Greetings, Crusaders, and welcome to my tier list of the Helldivers 2 Warbonds. Now, you may see that during this video, the Warbonds I put in the list may be a little bit different from the thumbnail. Did I trick you into clicking? Maybe, but you're going to find out if you stick around. I'm going to try and jump straight into this and just rank all of these Warbonds, how I like them, and I want to see what you guys think of my rankings in the comments. I think that'll be very interesting. But we're going to just jump straight into this little ranking here. I'm probably going to go with the newest, which here is Exo Experts. And I think this one, I might just drop straight into D tier. And the reason I'm saying this is it introduced mechs into Warbonds, and that was just not okay. This was the first sign we had of Arrowhead going back on their words. And I mean, the items in it are fine, but I just can't rank it higher because of, you know, what it meant behind the scenes out of the game. And I have used the weaponry in it. It's okay. The breakthrough is pretty cool, but the mechs are still useless on automatons. I'll just say that at least. You know, I always envisioned heavy mechs fighting machines, you know, machine on machine, but it's just really not that. I think the only reason it's not F tier is because they, you know, released the FRVs and sort of broke the cycle, so it saved it a little bit. But I mean, I'm really thinking like, just, I want to put it in F, but I want to give it a fair shot, because my main reason for disliking it is not its fault. So that's going to stay into D tier. Next up, we have Entrenched Division. Now this one I like a lot, and I don't know, should it go S tier? Maybe? Or should it go A tier? I'm gonna put this into A tier. Now, people may not like this decision, but I really enjoy Entrenched Division. I love the shotgun, although that is in the Superstore, I will admit. It's a very good weapon, highly prized, but good. I like the Veto, it's a very fun novelty weapon, I enjoy that a lot. And the Stoker, I think that's very versatile, especially since it's got the dual feature. Very good for Illuminate, you know, it can mow down Voteless and then burn them. Really good warbond. I enjoyed the aesthetics as well. The World War I trench, I love it. As you know, I've played Over the Top. I've done reviews on that. I really like that. And for that reason, I think it goes into A tier. The only reason I've not put it in S, I feel, is because that it's not as powerful as other warbonds, although it gives you, you know, morale. Siege Breakers. Man. When this came out, I really thought it was going to be super good. And I think it's going to go into B tier. Now, the reason it's going into B tier is because I wasn't really given what I thought I was going to get. I expected this to be a lot stronger than it was. I expected the Sledgehammer to do way more damage than it is, but it kind of under-delivered on that. And especially, I think the armor passive just sucks. The armor passive is just terrible. But again, it looks cool. And it works. I mean, we got the belt-fed grenade launcher in there, so that was pretty cool. I did enjoy that. But I think it firmly goes into B tier. Next, we have Redacted Regiments. Now, I think this is going to be another B tier warbond, solely just because they fixed suppressors just to get this warbond. You know, they made the suppressor change, and they did that just to get this warbond to a workable state so they could actually sell it. And I guess what I would really have to say is stealth doesn't work necessarily, especially when you're playing as host, because there's still that host bias. That means if you're trying to play stealth and you're the host of a session or solo, the enemies just know where you are and will just slowly move to your location no matter how stealthy or how good you are at espionage. Which means you can play stealth really well if you're not the host, if you're client, but it just really doesn't work if you're, you know, hosting. And I think as well, the commando missions that came with the release of this warbond really don't work as intended just because of that feature. And I think them having to, you know, like I said, fix suppressors to just get this into a semi-usable state really just shows that they were slapping things out. And, you know, it works. It's required for commando, and, you know, it does its job, you know. It's not anything special, but, you know, it's as is. It's mid, I guess. And because I've said that, I feel like dropping it, but I think it's going to stay where it is. Next up, we have the Killzone X Helldivers 2 Warbond. Now this one I don't really have much experience with because I just think the weapons are dookie. So I think it's going to go straight into C tier. The only thing I can say that I use on, you know, the most regularly out of all of the items is probably the Wasp Launcher. It's got to be the only thing I actually use. If anything, you know, the sniper's okay. I will admit that. It's got a decent sniper, but I don't really snipe. I don't use snipers. So then that takes it out for me personally. And the SMG just, I don't know, doesn't do it for me. I can't really seem to use it in a decent way, I guess. And I think for that reason, it's just unbelievably mid. And it's 1,500 super credits. So I'm just dropping it straight into C tier just for that reason. Just unbelievably mid. Next up, we have Python Commandos. Now this one is very controversial, as it added in the belt-fed weaponry and the, you know, the little chainsword thing that we got. I think it's called the defoliation tool. And it is not as powerful as I expected. And I think maybe I'm thinking I'm going to drop it into D tier. I might move it later on as I think about it. But to me, it just really isn't what I wanted it to be. I got it expecting it to be a lot more powerful than what it was. And it really does just feel like Viper Commandos 2. Now I know it's Viper and Python and all that, but it doesn't really expand upon what Viper Commandos had. It just feels not that good. And especially the passive, which is rock solid, that, you know, that's the thing where you don't ragdoll as much. That was just their band-aid solution to the ragdolling problem that everyone has. So they just sort of sold you the ragdoll fix in a warbond that had mid items in it. So they were just like, you know, we've got mid items. We want to sell them to people. Why don't we just put the anti-ragdoll solution in there so people get the mid weapons with it? At least that's how I feel. But I think for that reason, it's going to go into D tier. Might move it up to C. We'll see how I feel. Next, we have Dust Devils. Now this, I think, is going to go straight into S tier as the first one. I just love the passive that it gets. The, oh, what's it called? It's not Acclimated. I think it's Desert Stormer is the passive, or is that the name of one of the armors? I'm terrible with passives. I know what they do, but I can't remember the names. I really liked the passive that comes on the armors here, and I think the weapons were very solid. I really enjoy the Coyote, as everyone knows. Fan favorite is the Coyote. It's a shame that they've, you know, nerfed it inadvertently, because they like to say they haven't nerfed it, but we all know they have. And you know, it's just really great, especially the harpoon gun, the spear gun, really great, especially since it received a tweak recently to correct the damage values. It really does feel great, and overall, it was just a really solid warbond. Just, you know, what can I say? We wouldn't have been able to take the Hive Lords without it. Oh yeah, the what's that stratagem? The disposable napalm, that was really cool. I really like that. Excellent for open maps on Terminids. Just, oh. So yeah, I think this is going to be the first S tier. And then we have Halo Collab Warbond. This one, probably going to lump it in with Killzone. We've got both collabs next to each other. My main reason being is, you know, obviously the price of the collab warbonds are higher, more expensive, but you don't really get more. And the suppressors upon release were broken, like I mentioned with Redacted Regiments. They just had completely broken suppressors, and they said it worked as intended, but they just didn't do anything. And then when Redacted Regiment came out, they're like, yeah, we fixed suppressors. So most of the weapons in this warbond got better afterwards. And I know this is a nitpick, but they picked the 30-round assault rifle, which is the one that is in Halo 3 ODST. But they could have easily just put in the 60-round one. They could have. And it would have been a better weapon, because the 30 rounds, especially in Helldivers, the guns don't pack a punch in Helldivers like they do in Halo. They're much stronger in their original games. And the 30 rounds you get with this one just doesn't do it justice. It needs the 60-round mag, in my opinion. And what they could have done is put customization on the assault rifle to allow you to insert the 60-round mag. I don't see why they didn't do that. And there's also the very controversial M90A shotgun that everyone talks about, because that is a 10-gauge armor-piercing shotgun that does light pen in this game. It is so astronomically weaker in this game. And I feel that maybe it was because they didn't want to put in a too powerful weapon, but they could have picked any other gun. It could have been interesting to see a Covenant gun. You know, they could have picked, you know, one of the Covenant weapons to put in. It's not an ODST weapon, but it's something from that game. And that could have been interesting if they didn't want something that was as powerful. Or perhaps even a stratagem weapon. I was thinking maybe the heavy sniper from ODST. They could have added that as a stratagem weapon if they didn't want to put in a powerful weapon. I don't know why they picked the shotgun. That's one of the best weapons you can use as one of the UNSC soldiers. And I think just for that reason, I've got to drop it into C tier. They really did not, you know, they talk about wanting to be authentic and as accurate as they can be. And this Warbond really showed that they just do not do that. Absolute disgrace. Control group. Now, I like this one. I'm going to put this in A. This will go in A. And I don't think people will agree with me on this one, but I do like it. Epoch, not many people use it, but I do like the Epoch. It has its niche. It's a very good heavy pen weapon that doesn't require a backpack. And that can allow you to use all sorts of backpack equipment and, you know, really make your loadout way more versatile. You know, you can pick supply pack, jump pack, and it's a good heavy pen blaster. You know, it's not the best, but like I said, with it being able to open up your backpack, it gives you a ton more, you know, versatility. And I think that the variable, a lot of people had fun with the variable. I don't use it much, but it was an interesting concept weapon that, you know, I appreciate them putting that sort of stuff in. But I think the warp pack is sort of what people want to buy it for because, you know, people don't like spending money on microtransactions, and you can farm for super credits like everyone says, you know, that's the meme. And if you get the warp pack, it will make super credit grinds so much easier as you can do it solo. Or if you're with a duo, you can all split and go into teams of 2 or 4 with warp packs and clear the map so quick if you all pick a corner. Because the warp pack makes you move quicker, you can get into bunkers, and it's literally more of a farming tool than it is, you know, a weapon. It can be used in combat, but I feel like everyone I've played with and know really just picked it up as a farming tool. And I think that really does just elevate it above the rest. It's got solid weapons. And, you know, the passive's alright. I mean, it doesn't really work that well because a lot of the things that kill you in the game just decimate you. But I think for that reason, I'm really just going to put it in A. I enjoy it. Not everyone does, but I do. So it deserves its spot. Now, we're going to move on to Force of Law. This one really did not live up to what I wanted it to be. And I think I'm going to put it... I'm not sure whether to put it in C or D tier. This is really a tough one for me because I think we're going to just stick it in C. I really like the idea of it and I really like the weapons, but they just don't really do enough to warrant it being any higher. You know, the armor looks sick, the patterns for like the exosuit and the pelican, they look really cool. And I like the idea of having stun weapons and like the electric grenade launcher, but they just don't do enough damage. They really don't. They're more like just a paintball gun than anything. I always used to call it the paintball gun when I'd pick it in, you know, with my friends. And, you know, it really could do so much more if it just had that little bit extra damage. And it really is such a shame because it has a lot of potential. But like I said, it just really doesn't pack enough of a punch, in my opinion. And I have to drop it lower because if a gun doesn't kill, it doesn't matter how cool it looks, it's just not useful when you could pick something up that will do the job. Especially if you've got things like the Eruptor, that will stun enemies because they've just been blasted in the face and they're going to explode. Whereas this is going to stun them and tickle them. So I have to drop it for that, unfortunately. Very cool concept, very poorly executed in my opinion. And now we have Masters of Ceremony. I think this is going to be my first F tier option. I just really don't like this Warbond. And I don't like the items they added. I think the cosmetics look really cool, but the actual items you get, I just don't use at all. They're all useless in my opinion. You know, they had cool emotes with lockstep, and I think the flag's in this one too. But I just don't think the actual like amendment itself, it's useless. And it's more of, I guess you could say, a LARPing Warbond. It's a LARP bond because it looks really cool. It has really good aesthetics, but the actual weapons and usefulness of it in combat are just, it's useless. Because you got to realize as well, most of these non-collab war bonds are 1,000 super credits. So you got to think of it as an investment. If you don't have, let's say hypothetically, you don't have any of these war bonds and you want to invest your 1,000 super credits, why would you pick the LARP bond like Masters of Ceremony when you can pick something else and get so much, you get better items for the same price? And that's what I like to put into consideration when I rank these war bonds, is what am I getting for my 1,000 super credits? And you get really cool looking items, but I don't think they have, enough usefulness on the battlefield for your 1,000 super credits. Because ultimately, in my opinion, I like how well I perform on the battlefield. So I want to perform better, and I like looking cool, but getting out of the mission is my first priority. So I would rather put my 1,000 super credits into another war bond than this. It doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't look good. Like I said, it really does. It's a good looking war bond. I love the items, but it's just not combat effective. So I have to put it in F tier. I've never found an item in this war bond super effective. I just have to drop it for that reason. And then we're going to get Borderline Justice. Now this one, I don't know if it's going to go B tier. I'll put it in B tier, I really do like the weapons in it. Everyone likes the Talon. Everyone likes the Deadeye. People love the Deadeye. And I like the Deadeye a lot. I use it mostly on the bot front. I use it as sort of a battle rifle, I guess, because it's better than other options, for me, at least, the way I use it. I really like using the Deadeye. I'll sit on a rock and just pop Devastator heads. Favorite activity with it. It looks really cool. I think it's the medium pen armor. I really love it. It's got like this really cool Johnny Silverhand looking arm. Looks fantastic. Cool passive idea with, the secondaries. You draw the secondary faster and you reload it faster. Really makes certain guns much more better. Things like the Senator are fantastic with that passive. And I just like it all over. I mean, it's just a good war bond. It's not the best, it's not the worst, it's just middle of the road. So I think it's going to go B tier. It does its purpose, and I think that is what the standard of a war bond should be. The lowest a war bond should be is Borderline Justice. That's the, baseline, I'd say. In my opinion, of course. But then we're going to move on to Servants of Freedom. This one I really like. I think it's really cool, and I'm going to put it in A tier. Now, the reason for this is obviously the portable hell bomb. Of course, I've killed probably tens of thousands of enemies with this one item alone. It saved countless squads at the cost of one Helldiver. You kill hundreds of enemies and lose one Helldiver and save the rest of your squad. And it makes really cool clips too. You've seen all the portable hell bomb clips. And it added in the double-edged sickle, which is another really cool weapon that will heat up to heavy pen the longer you use it, and can do a ton of damage. And also, the, what are they called? The Seeker Grenades, I believe is the name. They're grenades that have little propellers and fly at them like a drone. It's an impact grenade that flies. And they recently changed it so that it will target flying enemies more. And this is, I guess the niche would be Illuminates for the flying overseers. It will fly through the air and hunt them down, blow them up, and destroy the jetpack and just kill them. And I just really like it, like I said, it's got cool aesthetics. That's an important factor. Really good weapons, and it has a ton of power. And how can we forget the Ultimatum? I mean, that thing carried me through Cyberstan, and it's just a cool pistol. It has been nerfed a lot, but it's still really good. But Day 1 Ultimatum was the GOAT. And I think it deserves its A spot just purely because of the raw explosive power that it has. And it's earned that spot. We're going to move on to one of my favorites, which is Urban Legends. I really like it personally, so I think I'm going to put it in S tier. I think it deserves to be lower, but it holds a place in my heart. But I think I'm going to have to drop it to A tier. I will drop it to A tier. And the reason I'm dropping it into A tier, despite it being one of my favorites, is because they recently changed, well, I say recently as of the release of this War Bond, they lowered how ammo works. they baseline nerfed ammo consumption and how much ammo you get. And then they released this warbond, Urban Legends. And what this allowed you to do was you got more ammo and you reloaded quicker. So they created a problem and sold it to you in a warbond. And I think that really drops it, in my opinion. But other than that, it is my favorite because of the passive. I think it's a really cool passive. I love the aesthetics, the urban camo, and the heavy armor with the big pauldrons, one of my favorites. And the stun lance is really great because I love using the ballistic shield and the stun lance. It is a fantastic combo, and you used to be able to kill chargers with it. You just stab the charger, stun it, keep hitting it, and you'd kill it with a melee, so no ammo consumed. It is still a armor I use nearly every time I play Helldivers. Nearly every time I will pick something with the Siege Ready passive. And I just really like the look of it. Most of the reason why it's so high up is because of my personal preference to it, but I've had to drop it lower just because of the precedent it set for warbonds fixing solutions to self-made problems. The only reason it's not S, unfortunately. And this one, Truth Enforcers, straight to F. The only reason this is straight in F is because of the LARPers that were born because of this warbond. It really did ruin the community, in my opinion, because of the lore around these guys. It's a fine warbond, I guess. It's alright. The weapons are mid, armor's mid, decent pattern, at least the pattern's cool. But they have changed the pattern. There used to be a little red skull on a lot of the patterns, and they removed it. So it doesn't look as cool as it used to. But the reason it is in F is just because of the people that it spawned. It spawned an absolute terrible LARPing community of people that want to be this even out of the game and out of the community, and it just sucks. It's one of the things I hate the most about Helldivers is these damn truth enforcing LARPers. I just hate it. And for that reason, it's going straight to the bottom. I think I'm going to even move it closer to the F just so it can sit right next to it as much as it can. I hate this. And another one that's going straight to F is chemical agents. It sucks. Who uses chemical agents? It is a terrible warbond. I mean, the sterilizer keeps getting changed, and that still sucks. The only good thing in this is a stim pistol, and that doesn't deal damage. And that's a healing item, and that's the best thing they have. It really is just a terrible warbond, straight to F. The dog breath? That just gasses enemies. Gasses friendlies, sorry. It sucks. Straight to F. No discussion needed. Freedom's Flame. Ooh, Freedom's Flame. Where would this go? I think this is going to go in perhaps C tier. I think it's a fine warbond. It does its job. But I think, unfortunately, it has sort of, over time, lost its prowess. Just because of other things, especially, I think, the Entrenched Division with, what is it? It's the Cremator, I believe. The really big flamethrower. That really did just ape the entire Freedom's Flame warbond with one item. At its peak, when it first came out, very good warbond, extremely powerful. But I think the changes to fire that have happened over the 2.5 years of the game's life cycle have really lowered the efficiency of the warbond. And especially, like I said, the Cremator being such a powerful flamethrower, it's completely dropped it. But at launch, perfectly fine. I think now the power creep has lowered it to a standard that is just not what it used to be. But overall, it's fine. I know people really like the orange. I don't, but I'm not going to drop it for that. That's just style. That's a favorite color thing. Orange is not my favorite color, but whatever. Another one is Viper Commandos. We're getting close to the end. We will get there. We have Viper Commandos. And I think this is going to be a hard one to rank. I personally like it, but I don't think the items it has are really that good anymore. Let me think. Is this going to be another C tier? Where will we put this? I think I'm going to have to make a decision. I think this is going to have to be another C tier. And I think it's also for the same reasons of Freedom's Flame. I think it's a fine warbond. I really do. I like the items in it. But I think, unfortunately, because of, like I said, the power creep over time, the efficiency of the items have just dropped naturally, and they're still just as good as they were when they came out, in my opinion, but just there are better things available on the market, and that's just going to naturally drop its standard. I do like Viper Commandos. I wear the, I think is it the Jackal helmet? It's the one with the skull painted on it. I wear that one a lot. I do like it. And I think the jungle pattern's really cool. I believe it's the pistol shotgun, the bushwhacker. I really like that as well. But I think it's in C for the same reason of Freedom's Flame, and that is, in my opinion, it's just lost its edge over its age. But now we're going to move on to the LiBond, Polar Patriots, and I think that's just going to have to go D tier. And when this was coming out, this was promised to be a S tier warbond, as it was claimed to be. But as you can see, it not being an S tier clearly shows that it is not that. And my main reason for that is we were promised a really good warbond, and it sucked on release. And they tried to buff it, and it's okay, it's serviceable. It does what it says on the tin, but it's never going to be the S tier that it was promised, and therefore it can never be S tier because it's never going to live up to its own hype, and it's doomed itself to always be lower because it's never going to be what it was promised. I think the only thing I like from it is one of the helmets. I think it's the armor, the medium armor. It's a nice helmet. That's all I really like from this, and you know, it's just dropped because it's not as good as it was promised to be, and it's doomed to be low because of that. Next, we have Democratic Detonation. This is going straight to S tier, no doubt about it. And the reason is, I think, because it's one of my favorite warbonds. Whenever I get a new player, and they always say what warbond to get, I will immediately say Democratic Detonation. And that is because it's one of the best warbonds ever made, and it was the best warbond the day of its release, because it has extremely powerful weapons. We have the Eruptor, the Exploding Crossbow, the Thermite, and the Adjudicator, some of my favorite weapons. Everyone loves the Eruptor. I personally love the crossbow, not a lot of people do. If you don't like the crossbow, I want to ask you, please try using the Ballistic Shield and the crossbow. It is a fantastic combination and will change how you see that weapon. It is so great to be able to just explode enemies and not even get hit because you've got a shield. And they have buffed the shield recently, so it's even better. Please do try that. You will love it. And it's just one of my favorite warbonds. The Thermite as well. Ever since I got that Thermite grenade, it has rarely left my grenade slot. It is so good for killing heavies. You literally just throw it at your heavy enemy, forget about it, and they're gone. And you can use the great weapons that it also has to clear enemies. I will always recommend this warbond to any new player who wants to burn 1,000 super credits on a warbond. The weapons are so good that it will help you get through the missions to get your XP up and your samples up to help you upgrade. It is so good. Honestly, S tier for that. But the final three, we have Cutting Edge, and I think this is going to be another C tier, as it's doomed to time. These three here, Cutting Edge, Viper Commandos, and Freedom Flame, they all suffer this one issue, and that's that they were fine when they came out, but they have suffered power creep, like I've mentioned, and they are still serviceable weapons, and they are good warbonds, but in the current day, they have dropped significantly because of the newer options available to you on the market. And I just think they have to go lower because of that. If this was set back in time when these were new, I possibly believe they would have been B or maybe even A tier, but they have to drop just because of the power creep. That doesn't mean I hate them, but they are just relics, I would say. So they are still good. I really do enjoy, what's it called? The Blitzer. That's the word, the Blitzer. I really enjoy the Blitzer, especially from this. I will say though, I don't really use the armor passive because not many enemies use electricity. The only time this is useful is dodging the arc towers that your friendlies have or the Illuminate have. Only real use for that passive, in my opinion. But yeah, it's another one that's lost to time. And Steeled Veterans, I think that's... I'm going to put that in B tier, and hear me out. I really like the Senator. It is a great secondary. It's been buffed a lot since it came out. It's had the sway removed. It's been bumped up to heavy pengs. It was medium, I believe. And, you know, it's just a really great pistol. Everyone uses the Senator. I say everyone, nearly everyone. I love it. It's always on my hip, and I really love the armor aesthetic of the injured Helldivers. You know, they're steeled veterans, and I love that they are still in the fight while having prosthetic limbs. And I love the in-law like sort of the moral quandary of you're fighting cyborgs and automatons, and you've turned into one, but you've still got to fight them. And, you know, it's a great parody that they're still fighting even when they're injured. I just love that aesthetic, and I wish to see it more. And I think it's just got to go B tier because of my love for it and just how cool it is. I really do like the Dominator too. Fantastic gun. Not many people pick it. I really do like it though. And I think we're going to have to go with the last warbond. Or should I say the first warbond, but last in this list. Helldivers Mobilize. I think it's going to just have to go A tier, just because it's the first one you get and it's the biggest warbond. It's free, it's the biggest, and it will change your life as a new Helldiver because it's got so much stuff in it that will expand your arsenal. So I think it's just got to go A tier purely for that reason. You know, it's got tons of stuff, free, big, you know, what else is there? You know, best one have. There is a funny story with Helldivers Mobilize though. There was a guy I played with, I think he was a level 20 something, and he didn't even know about the Warbonds page. So he just had 250 medals and was still rocking the default gear and probably a couple things from the ship acquisition store, but he had none of anything from a Warbond because he didn't know that tab existed. And, you know, that was a very funny story. But I think let's just review. So S tier, I've got Dust Devils and Democratic Detonation. A tier is Entrenched Division, Control Group, Servants of Freedom, Urban Legends, Helldivers Mobilize. B tier is Siegebreakers, Redacted Regiment, Borderline Justice, and Steeled Veterans. C tier, I've got the Killzone Collab, the Halo Collab, Force of Law, Freedom's Flame, Viper Commandos, and Cutting Edge. And for D tier, I've got Exo Experts, Python Commandos, and Polar Patriots. And in F tier, I've got Truth Enforcers, Masters of Ceremony, and Chemical Agents. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments of this little tier list. And I've been yapping for a long time. And I think we need to wrap this up. But first, I want to thank the channel members. I want to give a big thank you to Caitlin For Real, Raul RR, Major Glazer, and Haichabez for being channel members. And, you know, I want you all to comment, leave a rating, and most importantly, subscribe. I want you to remember to have a great day. Remember, you are loved, you are valuable, you can do great things, and remember, it gets better. But with that, I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day.